Hey everybody, now we're going to take a look at some Treasury issues. First up is DC Special Series number 27, otherwise known as Batman versus the Incredible Hulk. This is a lower grade example, kind of torn up a little bit. I did actually make a full video flipping through all the pages of a slightly nicer copy in another video I made last year. But yeah, kind of a cool, interesting book. Some cosmic things going on, but you got Batman versus Hulk, of course. So yeah, I think this was the last large Treasury DC made until the late 90s, when Alex Ross did some of his. So yeah, this is just a cool book. One of the more expensive treasuries for sure. Alright. Next up we have a famous first edition of Action Comics #1. This book, let me just crack it out to show you guys. This book has the famous first edition outer cover, and inside it's got a full reprinting of Action Comics #1. Sorry I can't get that full thing in screen, but a lot of times in the past you'd hear stories of people ripping off the cover of these famous first editions and, you know, selling the interior as basically an original Action Comics 1 or Batman 1, Detective 27, so on and so forth. So you got to watch out for that. Nowadays it's obviously a little bit easier to tell, not only because the size is almost double a normal comic, but there's a lot of things on the cover that you'll notice that are different than a real Action Comics #1. But other than that, I mean, just the value of these things nowadays is going to make you do your research. But always be careful of that. Just thumbing through some of the artwork here. If you guys have never opened an Action 1. I've never opened a real Action 1, of course, but there's Zatara. If you want to take a look at the Superman story, I'll show you guys really quick. So here we are. Let me see if I can focus that a little bit more. Not sure if you guys can read it, but it's kind of what it looks like. If you guys want, I can go through all the pages later. I think I have another copy. But for now, I'm just going to keep going through the rest of the Treasuries. Of course, there's the iconic cover pose there. But yeah, just a short Superman story. The rest of the book was other stories, in case you didn't know. Action Comics was not 100% devoted to Superman for a while. But anyways, there is famous first edition of Action Comics #1. The Treasury size. The next book that we'll take a look at is another famous first edition. It is of Batman #1. And again, same story with these Treasuries, or this version of the Treasury. A lot of people would rip off this cover, try to sell this interior one as, you know, an original Batman #1, but there's some things you can tell along the bottom. You kind of see this building right here is cut off. What else do I notice? I'm sure there's a few other indicators, but that's one of the main ones. Aside from that, I don't have too much to say about this Treasury. Of course, Batman #1 I think is the first appearance of the Joker. So there you see. Sitting in his chair there, menacingly. But there you have it. Next up is another famous first edition. This time it's Detective Comics #27. Sorry that this whole thing isn't in focus right now. I'm filming on this tripod, and normally it's good for smaller comics, but for Treasuries it's a little bit too low to the ground. There you have it again. The inside of the famous first edition of Detective Comics 27. If you want to see what the opening page looks like. There you go. The old classic looking Batman there. Looked more like a bat, I'd guess. And just flipping through. Not all of it is Batman stories, just like Action 1. But yeah, there you go. After that, I've got a copy of Famous First Edition, #1. This one, this one doesn't actually have an interior cover of the Flash #1 like the previous books had. But this is first appearance of Flash. It might be the first Hawkman too. The Golden Age Flash, of course. But there you go. After that, I've got the last famous first edition that we'll look at for today, Sensation Comics #1. Not the first appearance of Wonder Woman, but an early one. This one does have a reproduction of the original Sensation Comics cover. This is what the interior looks like. So yeah, in the back. After that, we've got some of these Batman Treasuries. This one is known as C25, I guess. Now, I'm not sure on these. I haven't read all the Batman Treasuries. Some of them are straight up reprints. Some of them are new stories. But here's this one with the cool red cover. Then I've got a couple copies of C37 right here. Let me get the one without glare on it. I'll take a look inside for you. Yeah, I think this is definitely reprinted material. It looks like stuff from the Golden Age. If we flip through more, looks like that's the Scarecrow. Some utility stuff. But yeah, there you go. After that, we've got several copies of C44 with the bat signal on the cover. I'll just put these other ones aside and we'll take a look at this one. This one usually suffers from tanning along the edges. Looks like more older reprints again, contained throughout. But here's the splash page. After that, we move into some Marvels. First up is Marvel Treasury Edition #1. I'm not sure if this was Marvel's first Treasury or not, but it does reprint several Spider-Man stories. After that, we have Superman and Spider-Man. This is Marvel Treasury Edition #28, the last one they did in that series, and I think this was a follow-up to the Spider-Man vs. Superman Treasury, which I do have another one of those in this stack. But here's two copies of Superman and Spider-Man. You might be interested in taking a look inside, so let me crack this one open for you real quick. we'll take a look. I have not read this story yet, so I can't give an analysis on it, but looking forward to doing so soon. Here is the splash page. Spider-Man and Superman. Let's see when Superman pops up. Hey, look at that. Looks like there were remains of a new comic tucked away in here. Let's see here. There's the Hulk. There's Superman. That's a pretty cool image right there. Even meets the Hulk, it looks like. Looks like they get into a little fight. Actually, it's quite a big fight. But yeah, it looks like the main villains in this story are Dr. Doom and the Parasite. But anyways, moving on. The next book we have, I think we have a couple copies of Superman versus Shazam. I did want to read all these and then give you guys a recap, but I haven't had time to do that yet. But if you're interested in looking at the interiors in any of these, just let me know and I'll try to make a full video for you. Really like this cover, just a nice battle issue with Supergirl and Mary Marvel in the background. Not sure who that is, what villain it is, or if it is a villain, I don't know. But Superman versus Captain Marvel. Oh, that's a pretty cool splash page. Just flipping through a little bit. There's Black Adam. But yeah, that's a pretty cool book. I only have one of those right now. After that, we come to one of the most iconic Treasury editions, Superman vs. Muhammad Ali, with artwork by Neil Adams. And there's over 100 famous people that are actually drawn into the cover, front and back. See if you recognize any of them. I think there is a guide inside that actually tells you, yep, there's a guide here that tells you all of the famous characters. There's 172 hand-drawn people on the cover. It's pretty crazy. But anyways, in this book, basically an alien race is holding the Earth hostage, and Superman and Muhammad Ali have to fight each other. Or fight one of the alien warriors. And Superman is put under a boxing ring with a red sun, so he loses his powers. And I think Muhammad Ali actually trained Superman for a little bit in the Fortress of Solitude. So interesting little story. Classic book, of course. Beautiful cover. So I've got the regular edition here. And then here I have the Whitman edition, which is slightly more valuable. Not sure if it's rarer, but definitely more valuable. And same thing, just a multitude of all the characters, the real life people on the covers. After that we have a book that I mentioned earlier, Superman versus the Amazing Spider-Man. Battle of the Century, of course. Let me pull this one open to show you guys what's going on inside. On the back cover we have this cool pinup, or just a drawing. Spider-Man's on the tower. Of course, in my opinion, I think Superman would take this pretty easily, but it's an interesting book. Collaboration between Marvel and DC. On the splash page, this is what you have. You have Stan Lee and Carmine here. Oh, that's a cool robot splash with Superman there. Let's find Spider-Man real quick. There he is, chilling, taking pictures. This is another book I haven't read yet, but definitely looking forward to doing so. Got Lex Luthor, he might be the main villain of the story. Dr. Octopus, oh that's... Sorry to spoil the story, but that's a pretty sweet splash right there. But there you have it. That's Superman versus... Sorry, might have just been cut off there for a second, but we just finished with Superman versus Spider-Man. Up next we have another Superman versus book. This is Superman versus Wonder Woman. Another classic with Uncle Sam in the background. On the back cover we have them duking it out in front of the Capitol building. So yeah, this is an all new story. Here's the splash page. Let me focus that a little bit more. Another awesome splash page. Looks like Superman's battling some warships. It's Wonder Woman versus some Nazis. Is that a Nazi robot samurai? Looks like an interesting book. Superman getting tossed. There's a classic splash right there. Oh, here's another copy of Superman vs. Spider-Man there. So yeah, there's a lot of these Superman versus Treasuries, and I think those are what sold best for DC. Oh man, I have a lot of these actually. My third copy. And the second copy of the Wonder Woman one. But yeah, as I was saying, I think the Superman and Batman Treasuries sold best for DC, of course. They actually had some Rudolph the Reindeer Treasuries that were their #1 sellers, I believe. So they made 6 or 7 of those Treasuries. I don't actually have any, but anyways, last up we have Superman vs. the Flash. I think this recollects some of their earlier races from the 60s and 70s. But back cover, we just have something you can cut out. Fortunately, this one's still good. On the splash page, just have this book. I can't call it out if this is a reprint by any specific book. I know you have, what, Superman 199 or Flash 199. Whatever their first race was. They did one of World's Finest too, I think. It's a breakdown of the Fortress of Solitude. Kryptonite. Some cool little stories there. But anyways, that's it for the Treasuries. Like I mentioned, feel free to let me know if you want me to do a full flip through of one of these books. Those videos usually take 4 to 5 minutes. But it's no problem. And I've got plenty more Treasuries back home. Really, I just love the big size, the big artwork in these. Paper quality is usually a little bit lower than a normal comics, but they're just really fun to have. Hard to store, but fun to have. But that's all I've got for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.